Edge of the building to the other edge of the building is 13 feet 4 inches. And then our rafters are going to run up to the middle. We're getting ready to cut. Sit on the wall there. So we need to divide that in half. So 13 foot 4 divided by 2. 6 would be 12. Subtract that, we have 1 foot left over. Add that to the 4, we'll have 16 inches. Divided by 2 would be 8. So 6 foot 8 inches is going to be our run from the edge of the building, horizontal. From the edge of the building, the run up to here, the center. And then our slope, we're doing a 5 rise to 12 run. That's our rate for our slope. So we're going to use these numbers. And then our horizontal distance of 6 feet 8 inches. Mark out our horizontals in this rate. So our rate is a 5-12, or 5 rise over 12 run. And so we've set up the 5 at the edge of the board here, and the 12 at the edge of the board here. The edge of the board is going to be our line that's sloped to the 5-12 rate. So we've got that set up. So here's going to be our angle to cut at the top. So we put our line here for our slope, for our plumb cut at the angle. It'll be at the top. And then we need to make a total run of 6 foot 8 inches. So I'll come over here the 8 inches and mark that. I'm going to slide it down still at the 5 and the 12 on the edge of the board. 5 and the 12, slide it down to extend this mark all the way across the board. And then I'm going to slide it down. We're doing parallel lines because we have the same slope on them. And I want to line this up with the 5 and the 12 and with the 8-inch mark I made. Bring it out here to the edge. So this represents my 8 inches horizontally, which is perpendicular because I have 90 degrees measured perpendicular to that cut. So that'll be my run of 8 inches. And then I have to, from there, I have to mark off 6 times to get my 6 feet. Here's a foot. So I mark that. And then I keep sliding down. Right, so here's our 6th one, 5 and 12. We'll mark it there. That's going to be the run to the edge of the building. And then from there we'll move over again to make the mark right here to make a notch for it to sit on the wall. That notch is called the bird's mouth. So that needs to be parallel. It's called a plumb cut. It's parallel to the one at the top. We'll extend it on through. Again, we're keeping our 5 and our 12 all the time. So we have parallel lines and transversals. We have that. So then we turn this around to mark our tail. I'm going to do 12 and 5 here. So that would give me an overhang of 12 inches. Right there. I set it at 12 again and 5 and mark that. Traced it back along here so that I can then slide this because I only want to come over another 10 inches. So I line that up. So I'm going to have the same rate here, but I'm only coming out 10 inches so that I can mark the edge right here. And this is parallel to the other 2 marks that we've made for cutting. Okay, so we've marked out our rafter, and now we're going to go back for our bird's mouth where it sits on the wall, and that consists of 2 cuts, a plumb cut and a seat cut. The seat cut is where it sits on the wall, and the plumb cut is vertical where it sits over the side of the wall. So going back here, we had marked this, Let me go ahead and draw it all the way through so we can see. Now we're going to come down from the top edge of the rafter. We're going to come down 3 inches. So 5 minus 3 makes 2. And we'll mark that right there. And then with this square being 90 degrees, we can turn this around, line that up, so that we can draw 90 degrees perpendicular. So here, we're going to cut this. This will be our plumb cut. And this right here will be our seat cut where it sits on the wall. And that whole thing together, all that comes out. And that's our bird's mouth, the whole thing. So this part won't be cut off. All right, so we've cut this out now. And so now we can see where it's going to fit on the wall. The seat cut sits on the wall. The plumb cut of the bird's mouth comes up tight, flush against the wall. There it is. And so we have our board sloping, and it's a rise of 5 and a run of 12. So for every 12 inches across, we're going up 5. So our total horizontal distance across horizontally right here is 6 feet 8, and our rate is 512 up here to the top. Instead of stepping it off, we can also use a rate table from the rafter square. And so we look here, the length of the common rafter per foot of run. And then this is set up for our slopes with a run of 12. So we're going to go all the way across. Since we're doing a 512, we go to the 5. And on that first line, here we see 13. And 13 comes out exact because of 5, 12, 13 is a Pythagorean triple. But 13 is going to be the inches per foot of run. And then our run was 6 foot 8 inches. So 6 foot 8 inches. We need to change that to all feet. So we're going to have the whole 6 feet plus another 8/12 of a foot, which is 6 2/3 feet. And then we're going to take our 6 2/3 feet that we have times our rate of 13. And this sets it up into our length along our rafter is going to be our rate times our horizontal distance, our run. So 6 2/3 times 13. So our length will be 13 times 6 is 78, and 2/3 of 13 is going to be 26/3, which will be 78. Make that into a mixed number. It will be 8 2/3. So this is going to be 86 2/3 inch from our rafter square, our framing square. Length of common rafters per foot of run, and that length is in inches. So we have, our rate was actually 13 inches per foot of run, and this was 6 2/3 feet. So these are going to cancel out. So that ends up with just inches for our label. So that would be the length that we should be able to just measure off along the rafter, and that should match up with what we stepped off earlier.